accident press new game. Whoopsies. I forgot to load it. There you go. I was like, it sounds like I'm in a spaceship, but like I don't remember being back into the spaceship, but here we go. A week later, Amicus and I sit in the gardens enjoying the cool, fresh morning air. So, what's your main argument? The Adastra has been on a steady rise politically and economically since the beginning of Astra's policy era. Why take steps backwards when we're so clearly moving in the right direction? And Cassius? The Adastra's decline over the past few hundred years is due to the policy. Instead of looking outwards to the children and their siblings, we should instead be looking inwards to better ourselves. Amicus scratches his nose. Well, that's the basic anyways. Obviously, there's much more to do. Much more to it. So how are you going to counter that argument? Seems like a pretty good one to me. If the wheel of your chariot is caught in the stone, does that mean the campaign should be turned around and ended? He looks at me and I just stare back. Well, the answer is no. You simply need to give it a push. In other words, the downturn over the past 200 years is simply a stone in the road. Why throw away 10 millennia of progress due to a few centuries of light hardships? Besides, it was completely predictable. The war with the Kimians and the resulting end of the diplomatic relations with most of the other siblings caused it. We certainly can't have any leverage in the galaxy when the only siblings speaking to us are the cats. If we can fix those relations, we could be well on our way to prosperity again. Well, that and unstunting your children. Yes, that too. Which I still can't believe you did. Again, it wasn't me. Anyways, that will also be part of my argument. Upraise the children fully, as the partial uplift programs are now clearly a failure. And end the slavery. And consider the debts repaid, yes. Debts that didn't exist in the first place, sure. You know, the main character here is like a fucking piece of shit. Listen, Kenny, I have to use very careful language so as not to upset the people. Not to mention the triumvirates. Feelings are sensitive at times like these and must be considered despite how tedious or untrue it can be. Oh, Trish, thanks for giving Light a shout out.
On Friday. Thank you so much for the support,
you're a better streamer than me.
Waiting.
I forgot.
I really appreciate you all. Bye bye. Oh wait, we're gonna read someone. Oh wait. Oh, I have to leave like this. I'm running.
Amicus is right. The wolves are very sensitive when it comes to their culture and history. But hey, Bliss, how are you today? I'm starting to realize that their hubris is probably their biggest downfall. I lean back on the bench, starting to feel a little sweaty under the rising sun. Isn't that going to be Cassie's whole thing, though? Appeal to their feelings, throw out the etiquette, and get straight to the point? Possibly, but I'm confident my composure and consideration will win over the triumvirates. You ever consider not being so confident? Maybe preparing for the worst? Is there just no two options? You think you choose the nice answer, but then your character just destroys them? Like, that's... Yeah, that does happen a lot. Fortunately, there's not much like options in this game. But this little main character does kind of cause little shits. He's a little ankle biter for sure. You're tired. Did you go to sleep? Are you just waking up, or have you not slept yet? I'm confident I'm prepared for the worst. I roll my eyes and Amicus glares at me. I don't understand why you're so insistent on projecting yourself onto me. Just because you aren't sure of yourself doesn't mean that I should be the same. I frown. Ouch. Sorry, but I strongly believe in what I'm doing. How can I ever be an emperor if I'm not sure what I'm doing is right? Sure, but all I'm saying is that you might not always be right, and you need to be prepared for that. Trust me, I'm learning as I go, and after the last trial, I'm preparing for everything. How are they even going to choose the winner? Wouldn't they just pick who they agree with most? Technically, no. They're supposed to choose the best performance, the most convincing and dramatic. How very woven. So you just have to convince a majority of the triumvirates? Yes, well, but Cato's votes holds twice the power of triumvirate votes, so I need at least either 4 triumvirates or 2 triumvirates plus Cato. And what are Cato's beliefs? Why did I say that so weird? Amicus shrugs. He doesn't talk about them much, but again, it shouldn't matter. He's certainly right about Kato and not talking about himself. But that tends to be the way everyone's around here. I can tell Amicus isn't all that interested in talking about this though, so I try to think of something else. What started the war Kimmyins, by the way? Their ambition got the best of them. They began to interact with some of the our abandoned children, some of which were very close to Adastra. Oh, is that illegal or something? Well, technically not if they're abandoned, but it's never really happened considering if a species is abandoned, then that's a signal to the other siblings that the race is upliftable. So they weren't breaking any rules. Even if they weren't breaking laws, they were clearly provoking us. By uplifting race just a few hundred light years away from our moon, they are an arrogant people. Nefaris seems nice, always polite. Amicus smirks. Well, that's how they often get their way, a facade of nice cities to pull you into their trap. Either way, the war was a draw despite their technical advantage. Woven tendency beats Kimmy text any day. Despite Amicus' more progressive views on things, he's not immune to Woven hubris either, it seems. But I'm not in the mood to argue with him about that. Please don't. You know, Neferu reminds me of a culture on Earth, the Egyptians. I wonder if they uplifted there too. Amicus looks down at me and snorts. More likely, they just share simple aesthetics. Your people being uplifted twice while having no knowledge of the Galaxias is impossible. The Chemians rarely abandon anyways. Actually, I don't think they ever have. They tend to have the best of luck. Amicus stretches. Honestly though, this talk is boring. This is my only day off before before the tryout next week. We should be doing something fun. Like what? Amicus looks around and grins. Want to practice Pugnu with me? No. Oh, come on. I know Amicus would go easy on me, but I really don't feel like getting sweaty and exhausted right now. Why don't we just go to the island and have a picnic again? Oh, I forgot we go back to the island. Ooh, was there a news scene there? We'll find out. Oh, yeah, great idea. Amicus grins and hops up, already making his way to the beach as he calls out Calm to get the food ready. With a sigh, I get up and jog after him towards the sightseer. I stand on the beach, hands on my hips, as I look out at the sparkling lake. The breeze that coming off the water is cool and soothing. Adastra City sparks in the distance as well, making the tall structure look like they have a glass or crystal coating. I look back at Amicus, the wolf in the process of spreading out a blanket under the shades of the tree. You sure Kato isn't gonna kick your ass doing this again? I see the wolf's ears flick down for a moment. That was for missing the appointment. I don't have any today. I was just telling Amicus that it was much more than a missed lesson. And instead I walk over to help him spread the blanket out even more evenly. Thank you. Now shall we eat? Amicus pulls the cloth off the basket, revealing tightly packed and covered plates, along with bottles of wines and virdi. This time, the food is a selection of wraps full of meat and cheeses, along with chilled, salted cucumbers. Amicus plays out in the luxurious Roman way as he pulls his plate of food up next to his chest, immediately stuffing a whole wrap in his muzzle. I'm a bit more daintily, instead sitting next to the wolf cross-legged as I nibble at my own wrap. We sit in silence for a little while, Amicus gobbling up the majority of the food like always. I notice the wolf drinking more wine than he usually does, probably because it's his day off. After taking a particular large swig, he points at my legs. I don't know how you're comfortable doing that. Looks like hell on the knees. Well, laying down like you are actually hurts my neck. I don't know how you do it for so long. I rub the left side of my neck as I say that, then carefully uncork the bottle of Verdi. Kato's the same way, but he's old. I take a sip of the cold drink that I've come to really like over the past few weeks. Speaking of Kato, who exactly is he? How'd he become the acting emperor? I try circling us back around the conversation we had earlier, wanting to know more about the wolf that apparently ruling all of Adastra right now. Oh, well, he was father's friend since childhood. He was the imperial legate during the Bohemian War. Is that an important position? It's the highest rank in the military. Aside from the emperor, of course, he's credited with preventing outright defeat. Huh, must be kind of weird for him to have Neferu walking around the palace. Another reason I wonder why Virginia brought him to the palace. Kato's scars aren't just physical. Physical? I take it you noticed the visor, yes. Well, he lost an eye and part of his skull during the war. Eventually, the other eye failed as well, and he had to go to our parents to have a mechanical vision installed. Anyways, Neferu was born decades after the war, so I doubt Kato holds anything against him specifically. Is he alright with the alliance thing? Knowing this about Kato makes me worried that he might not agree with Amicus on one of his most controversial policies. I doubt that, but I think he understands if it's necessary if we're to begin re-establishing relationship with the other siblings. I feel my stomach turns a little as I realize we might be disadvantaged in this trial as well. Amicus, what's going to happen if you lose the next trial? Again, don't worry. I know you don't think it can happen, but if it does, what happens to me? Amicus frowns at me, a meat wrap halfway to his face before he sets it back down. First of all, I won't have you worrying about Cassius's words. What he said was out of anger and despite. And besides, I'll have measures in place to stop it from ever happening. What measures? Well, I'm not fully sure of that yet, but I will have them in place by the time the next trial comes. Very good measures. And besides, aside from that, what do I do next? Amicus thinks. Like I said before, I'll ensure a way home for you. The problem is that the illegality of you being here. The more people who knows about it, the more likely a monitor may be alerted to what happened. I need to be very careful about who I let know the situation. Okay. I look down at my food, suddenly having lost my appetite. Amicus sighs, sounding annoyed. Come on, Kenny, this is likely going to be your last few weeks here. Stop focusing so much on what's unlikely to happen. Let's enjoy ourselves a little bit. Debo suddenly sits up, brushing the crumb off his fur before swigging down more wine. Come, let's practice combat. What? I said I didn't want to do that. Well, since you're so worried about Cassius, I'll teach you a few tricks to take him down. Take him down? Well, I don't trust him to keep his paws to himself, so if he ever tries to take advantage of you when I'm not around, you can at least hold him off long enough to get away. Yeah, and that won't make everything worse. Well, after what happened a few days ago, I suppose it can't get much worse. I slowly get to my feet, straightening up my robes. I'm not so sure about that. Besides, we just ate. Amicus laughs. It's not like you're Kato. I think I'll be able to keep my food and drink down. What about me? I'm not going to hit you or anything. Amicus squares his stance, standing in the sand off to the side of the blanket, still in the shade. I sigh, recognizing that Amicus is in one of those moods where it's hard to talk to him out of doing something. Okay, Dory, enjoy your shower. I walk over to stand in front of the wolf, my arms folded. And about Kato, I could probably beat him in a fair fight. He just caught me by surprise last time. I pause and raise an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean, he started firing to no holds barred without warning. I have given him the business if I'd known he was going to do that. Hey, I don't think of you any less for losing a fight to an old man. Amicus furrows his brows, the way he does when he's realizing I'm teasing him. I'm serious. So am I. I mean, you almost had me that one time in a spaceship. You're a real force to be reckoned with. It's not smart to tease a wolf before a fight, human. I'm not teasing. And kicking the unexpected man in the balls isn't exactly a win in my book. It is in mine. Clearly. Speaking of which... Amicus suddenly steps forward, thrusting his knee up at my crotch. I can only watch in horror as it comes up fast, stopping just an inch from my groin. We both stand there for a moment before I gasp and stumble back, holding my nuts even though Amicus didn't make contact. What the hell? If you don't want Cassius to hold broken bones against you, go for the genitals. That should be enough to stun him. This goes for anyone else who might try to attack you. Annoyed, I make as if I do the same to Amicus, but he's already blocking. Yes, like that. Though it tries to be a little more subtle. You telegraph your moves far too much. I stop struggling with the wolf, breathing heavily. Fine. Then as Amicus starts to drop his guard, I try to swat him in the crotch. He snatches up my hands immediately. Ah, better. Kenny, though, you should probably try something harder than a flowery slap. I try to shove the wolf away, but he steps to the side and gives me a shove as well. I trip over something, and it's not until I'm on my ass that I realize he stuck his foot out behind me. I look up at Amicus as he stands over me, the expression on his face showing me that he's trying very hard not to laugh. He grunts his feet, and you should be able to send him to the ground fairly easily. If he breaks any of this bone from the fall, then at least he can't say you did it intentionally. Amicus reaches down with a paw to help me up. I take it and he pulls me up easily, almost lifting me off my feet. This is great and all, but I don't see how this is gonna help me. I wasn't even the one that broke his tail, and he wanted me killed. Again, with me standing in his way, he won't ever get the chance to try anything. If he even attempts to, this is only to give you a chance to get away from him. Amicus brushes the sand off my robes. Besides, this is useful in any situation, not just for Cassius. Amicus chokes up his last syllable as I ram my shoulder into him, grabbing his leg to try to tip him up, kind of like I saw Kato do to him in the amphitheater. Obviously, someone as small as me going up against a hulking wolf like Amicus is bound to fail, but the wolf does stumble back a few steps. Hey! Amicus chuckles and I feel him let himself fall backwards to the sand. It reminds me of the last time we wrestled on the beach, except now I end up on top of my full cushion up by his body, my face bouncing against his massive chest. Amicus grins at me. Oof. Not bad, not bad. With a little more force, you might be able to knock down someone as small as Cassius. I pin the wolf down, my hands on his shoulder. Oh please, I knocked you down fair and square. This time, I'm the one that yelped on my last syllable. Amicus easily reversing our position as he rolls us both over. I find myself staring up at the wolf, his massive paws on my shoulders, his knees spread to either side of my thighs as he careful not to rest his weight on top of me. He grins down at me, chest heaving for a breath as his tongue dangles out his muzzle a bit, the way it sometimes does when he's buzzed, giving his grin a dopey quality. He hunched over me to the point where his tongue almost touches my nose. Although I try to keep my face in a squall, I can't stop the smile from coming through, and pretty soon I'm laughing a little. I'm about to tell Amicus that this whole thing is hardly fair when he leans down fully, pressing his lips to mine in a kiss. I gasp in surprise, but it's through my nose as my mouth is sealed to his. My eyes are wide, his close as he presses harder against my lips. As he bends over me, his paws left my shoulder to instead hold my hand steady, one paw against my cheek, the other cupped around my head, his whole body huddling around my face. I don't move, not hugging back, but not turning away either. Instead, I just lay there as I feel my heart skip a beat, the feeling of the big, strong wolf crouched over me, kissing me, sending me a thrill from my chest down to my crotch. The wolf's broad, cold nose twitches against mine before a hot huff of breath escapes it and washes over my face. At the same time, Amicus suddenly rolls off of me, our lips parting just as quickly as they connected as he flops to the side on his back, mirroring my spread eagle position. We lay there next to each other, my heart hammering as I listened to the wolf breathing heavily next to me. Aside from that, the only other sounds were the waves washing up against the shore a few dozen yards away. A few minutes pass in silence as I wait for the wolf to say something. He doesn't, and I finally get to the point where I have to say something. So... He made out with me. Amicus responds instantly with an innocent, inquisitive grunt. What was that? That? Oh, the kiss. Yeah. Just thought I owed it to you after Mira. I bossed it during the performance after all. The wolf sounds distant, distracted like he's not paying attention to me. I finally prop myself up on my elbow, looking directly at Amicus now. Really? Like a child, Amicus looks away towards the lake, not saying anything. I wait a while longer, giving him a chance to respond, a chance he doesn't take. The main character better fuck this up for me. I sigh. Talk to me. What is there to say? I frown. A lot. I'm kinda confused, honestly. A big huffing sigh, then... I like you, Kenny, quite a bit, in fact. I know, I like you too. We technically confessed our feelings to each other when Amicus asked me on that date, but only technically. Are you drunk? Maybe a little, but I knew what I was doing. More silence. Amicus. Hmm? Could you look at me? Amicus' ears goes flat and he slowly turns his head towards me, but his eyes are down, looking at my chest rather than my face. I think about making a my eyes are up here joke, but I know it'll fall flat with him. Listen, we already sort of talked about this. Here we go. The problem is the situation we're in. It makes the whole dating thing impossible. What is it going on about? I see Amicus smile at the words, then frown again. I know, but if we feel the same, why not be a little closer? I know you'll have to leave soon, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy the time we have together. Sure, but I think that'll just make saying goodbye a little harder, don't you? Maybe, but we'll find a way to see each other. I don't know what's wrong with me. What he's saying makes sense, but this whole situation has red flags all over it. It's fine. He can't see red flags. He can't see the color red. Just like, no, technology does exist in this universe. Technically, their technology should be more advanced than the technology we have on Earth. This year. But he doesn't need to know I'm a red flag. Having feelings for my abductors in a situation that's completely illegal is so wrong in so many ways. But it feels so right. Amicus is talking about it like it could be an innocent fling, but this feels more than that. The wolf has the same dejected look he'd worn when he came out to me a few weeks ago. So I reach out a hand and rest in his paw. He looks at me, then ears still low, but his expression hopeful. Everything's just so messed up and complicated. Yes, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have kissed you. Maybe not. I swallow. But I liked it. You like to swallow? Amicus snaps his eyes back up to look at me. Really? Yeah. The wolf lets out a huge sigh of relief. You didn't kiss back though. It worried me that I made a mistake once again. I was surprised is all, and what do you mean once again? Dumbest man alive. At least he's The wolf seems to contemplate something, then he turns to his side to finally face me. So this is where we get a background of Amicus's trauma. About 5 years ago, I shared my first kiss with another male. Oh. At the time, there were rumors that I performed poorly with a female my father had arranged me to be with. Oh. Amicus' ear turns red. Anyways, so this male approached me during the summer festival. He was the son of one of the triumvirs of Tricelli. He made it very clear what he wanted from me. He kissed me on the balcony while covert drones recorded the exchange. It was broadcasted on the information channel the next day. I frown. Why? Amicus shrugs, looking down at the sand. The triumvir had a past grievance with my father. He used mine and his own son's sexual preference to get back at him. What happened then? Well, father used his power to shut down the network along with the banishing the triumvirs and his family to Anchorus. Amicus nods up at the sky where Anchorus looms monolithically in its faded chalky gray. It was an unpopular decision, but father felt it had to be done. Obviously, it's left me a bit worried about kissing and pursuing other men. I squeeze his paw. And look at me, giving him more trauma. Well, you don't have to worry about that with me, obviously. I don't know anyone here, and I'm trying to stay out of other people's business as much as possible. I know. Amicus squeezes back. I'm still sorry though, I should have asked or not done it. You're fine. Another stretch of silence, and I get the feeling that Amicus is waiting for an answer, which he confirms with what he says next. This pains me so much. I hate the main character. I hate the main character. So, if you're fine with it, did you want to date me? Amicus says the foreign word very carefully, and for a moment, the linguist skips a beat in his steady translation, allowing him to speak the words unfiltered. It's still his voice, but the heavy accent that comes through is surprising, even a little sexy. I know I should say no, though. The red flags fluttering ominously around our precarious, even dangerous situation. I'll think about it over the next few days, then let you know. Amicus smiles a little. Okay. But you need to be focused in the trial, so no thinking about this while I'm deciding. Biggie, you're gonna like fucking like slap your face when the next day comes up. You're gonna be like, the fuck? Because the main character does something stupid. I'm just like, I don't understand what he wants. Of course. I groan inwardly as I realized I've added another distraction to the wolf's goal of becoming emperor. You promise this won't distract you? Definitely not. I give the wolf a look of disbelief and he responds with a glare. Kenny, I've wanted this in my entire life. I know it might not have seemed like it earlier, but I'm taking this very, very seriously. And I won't be a distraction. Of course not. In fact, I think it would be rather positive for me to know that you return my feelings to some degree. It gives me even more confidence. Oh god, no. Hey. Amicus sets a paw on my shoulder and looks like he wants to lean in and kiss me again, but he doesn't. Thank you for understanding and putting up with me. I have a good feeling about, well, everything now. I don't know how much I agree considering our situation is causing us so many problems, but I set my hands on his paws anyway. Sure. Let me go pee real quick. Because I'm drinking, I have to pee a lot. But I'll be back soon. Give me a sec.
Rain on me. Hambony will save your life someday. It'll be all like, what? You trying to mug me?
No, we're not doing that, okay?
Oh my.
You make me wanna say,
He was cute, but his emotional intelligence is... Yeah. But then... I think it's the hydrate. But then, just wait right here. Just wait until you hear what the main character thinks. You're gonna be like, why? In the game, are you a human? Oh, I'm a human. So I'm a normal human from Earth. I got kidnapped when I was in Rome while I was doing like my... Was I in Rome for it? I think I was there for like school, like a school trip or something. Okay, here we go. That makes me feel better, not dumb as him. Our relationship after that conversation is strange to say the least. While it felt meaningful at the time, I realized later that we didn't really get anywhere except once again, amidst the feeling that we've been having over the past few weeks. Amicus is extra careful about touching me now, probably because he doesn't want me to misconstrue it for something more than what it is, or than it is. At the same time, our conversation had become less casual and joking, more stiff and awkward. I hate it. In any other situation, I want to just sit down and talk my feelings out with the person, but Amicus is different. First of all, he's an alien, having the feelings that I do for an alien, a wealthy alien that is weird. Secondly, this relationship, this closeness, is just not important in the grand schemes of things. We're currently doing something so illegal that if we were to be found out, it could bring the entire empire to a standstill, at least more than it already is. So instead of playing out one of the cheesy woven romance dramas I've seen on Adastra television, maybe instead I should be focusing on how the hell I'm going to exist in this empire, especially if the second trial falls through. But Amicus wants a relationship with me, that's much he's made clear. I just wonder if it truly would help him if he says it will, or if he's just saying that so I'll give him what he wants. I don't doubt that the wolf likes me, maybe even more than that, but we've known each other for about a month. Do we really even know anything about each other? Despite all this, and after a few days of thinking about it, I start to warm up to the idea. We both know it'll be short and an instant fling like I thought of it earlier. I could be leaving for Earth any time in the next month, but I can't deny that I really like him too. See? After a few days, he's kind of like backtracking at what he was saying. An instant fling. The more I say that in my head, the better it sounds. Despite everything, knowing that I could have a relationship with an alien, the son of an empire, actually someone who will likely become the emperor, that's kind of cool. Besides, he did say that it would help him with his confidence for the trial. And finally, I'm tired of this awkwardness between us. Amicus is my friend, and I want to be able to talk normally with him again. I'm pretty sure making things official will clear everything up. I just have to go about doing it the right way. So he's pretty much like going back at everything he just said to Amicus. Declining his second time proposing to me to be in, to be in a relationship with me, but okay. The day before the trial, Amicus shoos me and Alecus out in the gardens. Your life in this planet would be a million times better than the back on Earth. You'll never have that. No, he would not. It's strange, but he tells us that he needs to be tentative considering that camera drones are going to sweep over the grounds for an opening shot before the second trial begins. It's the first time that he's ever really asked me to do a task, and when I pointed out to him, he said that he also needs time alone to practice his speech. That makes sense, but it's still a little odd. Alex and I stand in the gardens, picking at the weeds just like I had on my first day at the palace. It's hard to believe a month's gone by, even with the 19-hour days. I guess it's about 3 weeks in Earth's time. I get to work pulling up the small white flowers, the one that seems to grow in every crevices of the garden. You'd think that the drones would be smart enough to take care of the weeds themselves. Well, they don't have appendages to pull with. All they can really do is use their high-power lasers, but that risks starting fires. The drones have lasers? Oh yes, they need some form of defense mechanism. Huh. I mean, it's not like they ever use it on you. Even if they did, it's not enough to kill you, at least not quickly, just leave nasty burns. I'm back and still haven't slept, so I'm gonna inject my body with sugar and caffeine. Are you just gonna stay up then? You might be able to fall asleep with my soothing voice. I find myself continuing to glance up at Adastran spiders sitting motionless on the wall of the palace. Wish they used them on those hideous things. It takes Alex a moment to see what I'm looking at. Oh, Kenny, do you know those are important for the ecosystem? Yeah, I know. Doesn't make any less disgusting. Imagine one of those things biting you. Indeed. Though honestly, I've been vaccinated so many times after coming to Adastra that sharp pointy things don't scare me so much anymore. We worked quietly for a few more minutes, Alex lazily humming as I tried to think of a way to bring something up that I wanted to talk about with the cat. So? I watched as Alex's paws work fast, plucking the weeds with speed and precision. What's your relationship with Cassius like? I see Alex's paws freeze for a moment, then quickly returns to their work, the dirty pile of weeds next to him growing larger and larger on the marble floor. Our relationship? You already know that, Kenny. I'm just his pet, just like you are Amicus's pet. He smiles at me. At this point, I decide to stop letting the cat play his little games with me. I give him a look that says, "Oh, come on," and I see his ears fall a bit. What? You know exactly what I think. It's pretty obvious that the two of you are, I don't know, something more? This is the first time I recall the cat on his polite pet facade. I see that it throws him off a bit. His ears are down, he's staring hard at his paw, pushing through the weeds, though he's no longer plucking them. That's such a foreign question, Kenny. I wonder if his demeanor just had to do with his cat's modesty, or if there are actual laws against pet-master relationships. Come on, we're friends. Besides, I want some advice. Now his ears perks up a little bit. Oh, with what? Well, first I want to know if, something's going on between you and Cassius, then I'll know if you can answer. Alex sighs and huffily and sits back on his rear, looking at his bitch childish with his legs and feet spread out in front of himself. I don't know why it matters. Well, I don't know how things are on Omphra, but where I'm from, friends talk about their relationship with each other. It's actually strange not to tell your friends about who you're in a relationship with. Though his ears are folded down, I can see how red they are. We're not in official relationships, but there are feelings between us, yes. Really? Alex snaps his gaze to mine. Why do you sound so surprised? I'm not surprised, just fascinated. I'm not. You two are really just different. How so? I mean, do I have to explain it? Alex is quiet. Well, you're so reserved and quiet, and he's so... Now that I know Alex actually likes Cassius, I don't want to be too offensive. Cassius. Alex sighs. With a little ad break, so I'm gonna wait.
What was that all about?
What an ass.
What an ass. I can't wait till you get to that point, Vicky. How far did you get on Tails? I know... I think I saw you last... at the village. No, I saw you at the fire temple. Okay. Yes, Cassius is very Cassius, but there's a lot more to him than what he puts out in public. So, you like him? Parts of him, yes. Alex lowers his voice to the point where I almost can't hear him, so I do the same. So, are you in like a relationship? I don't know what they're called on Adastra. Where'd you left off on Tails the other time? On stream. Alex bristles. Well, it's simply a call to relationship. Oh, you're the Costa? Well, it's simply a call to relationship. The only official status is marriage, but that's only between males and females. What about between males? There is none. Why are you so curious? Alex looks at me carefully, eyes narrowed. I shrug. Just wondering. I like to learn about the culture I'm in. I see. Are you interested in Amicus? Now it's my turn to blush. No. Kenny, you can tell me. I thought we were friends. I get the feeling Alex is a lot better than me at these games. I don't know, honestly, but I guess I was wondering how I'd go about if I decided to. Oh, that's adorable. All I can do is respond and blush a deeper shade of red. So you're asking how to tell a wolf that you're interested? Yeah. Well, between males, it usually happens naturally, without saying so. If you hadn't noticed, that's the stigma against there's a stigma against same-sex relationships on Adastra. Leaving the standards of a relationship unsaid makes it less likely that you'll be found out. I think for a moment, Amicus seemed to want me to be in a relationship, to make the relationship official. I guess he's just going by my standards then. He probably wants me to ask him to date me Earth style. Let's go back to plucking up some of the weeds. However, I feel that things are changing though very slowly. Honestly, someone like Amicus become emperor would be really something. I'm about to ask Alice how prominent the rumors are about Amicus when I suddenly hear footsteps. I look up, half expecting to see the wolf, but instead... Row. Kato simply stares at us, his paws behind his back as usual. A moment of silence goes by before Alex suddenly stumbles to his feet, paws claps in front of himself before bowing low. I quickly follow suit, a few seconds behind the cat. As I bow, I notice how dirty my robe is at the knees. Alex remains bowed, so I do the same, listening as Kato's footsteps come closer. He stops a few feet away, and I can see his worn, blunt claws at the top of my vision. He stands there for a very long time, not saying anything, forcing me and Alex to remain stooped. As my back starts to ache, I realize that he must be doing this on purpose. Are we in trouble for something? Finally, he speaks, and I almost jump. Alexios, Kenny, how are you this afternoon? Alex straightens up as I do the same, stiffening my groin of relief. If Alex is sore, he's not showing at all, as he fixes a smile on his face. Wonderful, Your Imperial Majesty. I hope this name is for you. I open my mouth, trying to think of something to say, though Alex didn't leave me much more room to do so. That doesn't seem to matter, though, as Kato starts speaking, reminding me that I still supposed to be near mute primitive. Sadly, no. Alexios, I was just in the city today and I was hearing some unfortunate rumors amongst the officials. Another long pause. Oh? The corners of Kato's mouth twitches, and while I usually have a hard time knowing that the old wolf is thinking, I can tell that right now he's not happy. Indeed, rumors about Cassius and his intentions involving the triumvirates if he becomes emperor. It takes a moment to know that they're talking about, then I remember. The triumvirates? I wonder why. Alex puts on a very innocent, confused look, even though I know that he knows what this is about. I wonder as well, which is why I'm curious to know if either of you have heard the rumors or possibly the source of the rumor. I felt sweat starting to break out of my forehead, and I'm glad that I'm already sweating from the heat. I'm sorry to say that I do not know, Your Majesty. Another moment of silence goes by, and that's when I notice that Kato's waiting for me to answer. I choke on my words for a moment, adjusting my brain to a dumb ape mode. What is triumvirate? Kato mouth twitches again. Anyways, I'm on my way to Cassius' room to let him know the news. Please accompany me, Alexios. Yes, Emperor. Alex quickly hops to attention as Kato turns, with a twirl of his robe, heading back up the path as Alex quickly follows. I'm left to stand there alone for a moment, watching the two of them disappear amongst the bushes. So someone had told some of the officials about Cassius' plans to eliminate the triumvirates. Despite Alex's innocent act, I assume it had to be him. Either that or it was Virginia. I wonder if Kato is already suspicious about Alex, and if that's the case, if it could all come back to me. I hope not. The idea of playing politics amongst these passive-aggressive wolves is not at all appealing. I spend a few more hours weeding the gardens on my own, knowing that I won't be able to make much progress alone. After a while, I meander around the gardens a bit, wanting to go back inside, but not really wanting to bother Amicus while he studies. While I'm doing that though, I think more and more about what Alex and I have been talking about. Should I just confess my feelings to Amicus and close the awkward gap between us? Yes! I know it's weighing on his mind. Maybe asking him out will give him that boost that he needs to win. Maybe I'm just trying to convince myself, but I realize that it is something that I want to do. And if I'm going to do it, it's probably best to do it before the trial to set his mind at ease. Could have picked a better time. Carefully, I picked a few flowers from the garden, not making the giant bouquet that Amicus had made for his own proposal enough to look nice, at least in my opinion. As I walk to the wolf's room, I have enough time to second-guess myself. Maybe this isn't such a good idea. My heart is hammering my chest as I approach the wolf's door, and I'm sure my face is bright red. I try to keep my breath under control as I stand in front of the door. What should I say? Maybe just imitate what the dwarves did back when he asked me out? Yeah, that'd be funny and cute, right? As I start to feel myself getting cold feet, I just reach to the panel, pressing it, deciding to throw myself into this. Okay, so I have to hide the screen. So give me a sec. I have to hide quite a bit. Hopefully this is enough. Let me see. Okay, here we go. There you go. So if you're curious as what's happening, best to look at Orange Tube, but the description I could give is Amicus is effing Neferu right now. No, he's not railing us. He's railing Neferu, the Egyptian looking dog. I wonder if it's our fault for not making the relationship official soon enough. Okay, here we go. The scene that I come upon is probably the last one I've ever expected. It's on us. Yeah, I think it's our fault. At first, I think the two of them are fighting. Nefer and Amicus obviously having some kind of tension going on between them. So seeing the jackal splayed out on bed while Amicus growled and snarled above him, pinning him down. Well, a fight is all that would come to mind. But after a few more seconds of staring open-mouthed at the scene in front of me, I slowly realized what's actually happening. While Amicus might be snarling, Neferu is letting out grunts and groans that are clearly full of pleasure. His face and body says it all too, the jackal wreathing and twisting under the wolf, pawing at him as he says words that don't translate through the lingua. I'm watching, I opened the door and I'm watching what's happening right now. If that isn't enough to tell me exactly what's going on, then the jackal's slick pink pee-pee bouncing against his tightened abs is. I guess the sound they're making covered up the sounds of the door opening because neither of them look up. Instead, they both continue to go at it while I stare in shock. A part of me doesn't want to make any sudden movement so as not to distract their attention, while the other part of me just stares in fascination, never having seen anything like this before. I'm a cuck. A few times, Nefer tries to reach up and touch Amicus' face, and each time the wolf bats it away or pins the paw down. Amicus seems irritated almost, like he's more annoyed about the situation than anything else. Remember that? Remember that? Nefer is practically the opposite, somehow maintaining that trademark smirk of his while this is all going down. Oh, it's making the same face as Butter's emote. And then, all of a sudden, for all the moment for me to walk in on their little session, they seem to reach their peak. So if I saw my crush rail someone else, I'm moving away, dyeing my hair, and joining him on this. Neferu lets out a series of short moans, a strange sound coming from someone as refined and reserved as he is. I can see the result as it splatters against his torso and muzzle, his hips jerking frantically as his face morphed into a look of strained pleasure. Meanwhile, Amicus moans long and deep as he thrusts harder into the jackal, freezing up before practically melting over the other canine. His expression is a lot more goofy, and despite myself, I find myself thinking about this is exactly how I imagine his orgasm face. I just sort of take all this in, still trying to understand what the hell is going on. I mean, I know what's going on, but I don't know why. There's a certain amount of horror that goes with my reaction, as if I just walked in on my parents doing it. I guess I'm at least glad that I'm seeing it at this angle, which means I can't see what's going on under Neferu's hips. I realize then that I need to get the hell out of there before they see me. As they both gasp in their sticky mess, I slowly start to back out, but that's when the door automatically closed behind me. Uh-oh. Now that the things are quiet, nothing covers up the sound, and Nefer and Amicus looks up at me at once. I stand there, feeling as if I'm in a dream as they both stare at me. I must look like an idiot. My robe dirty from the gardens, flowers dangling from my right hand, my mouth hanging open in fascinated horror. Amicus looks most shocked of all, though, and I can see a million thoughts running through his head, clearly not having wanted me to see this. Oh. His reasons for sending me and Alex out to do menial yard work is very clear now. Neferu, for his part, isn't wearing his usual suave smirk. Instead, is surprised and maybe even a little guilty, like not even he wanted me to see this. I love having secondhand heartaches. I open my mouth. But then, any will to smooth over the situation, somehow make a joke, or it even leaves me. With both their eyes on me, I turn and almost run into the door, having to drop the flowers on the ground to press the panel. Somehow I feel even worse than I had when I left the throne room in disgrace after the dance. The door slides open and the next thing I know, I'm jogging out into the hall. As I do, I hear Amicus struggling for words. Kenny, wait! There's some rustling sounds, followed by a yelp from Neferu before the door slides shut, and the only sounds are my echoing footsteps. The flowers on the floor. Ah, so dramatic. Okay. We're back. I'm not sure where I'm going. I just know that I need to get as far as I can from that situation. What I just saw is only now sinking in, and so is the hurt. What the fuck? The fucking wolf tells me that he's in love with me, or at least interested in me, and the next thing I know he's fucking that jackal? What the fuck? Dramatic sound in Spanish. I guess I'm more angry than hurt. I must have looked like an idiot. Such an idiot standing there while one of them was getting railed. And to walk into that moment. Neferu had been so clearly into it, and Amicus looked so mean and aggressive. The whole thing was just awful. Well, awful to walk in on unexpectedly. In another context, my vision blurs for a moment, but I refuse to let myself cry over something that wasn't even going to be so serious. I was just going to offer Amicus that stupid fling, and that was it. Well, you're a little too late. He wasn't obligated to have eyes only for me. In fact, I knew he was into Neferu. We already discussed it. So last time, when in the game, when they asked me a decision, like either let Amicus get close to Neferu or don't. So if you chose for Amicus to get close to Neferu, that's why this happens. But technically, we need this to happen in order to get to the true ending. So, so we kind of pushed them for we kind of pushed them for him to do this. But we'll know why he did this. In fact, I knew he was into Neferu. We already discussed it. So this is fine. This was expected. Enjoy your mistake, dumbass me. Actually, I wasn't even expecting anything. No, the reason I'm so embarrassed and I feel like shit right now is because I walked in on 2 alien dogs butt fucking. That was weird and messed up, and I just need to collect my thoughts for a moment. That's when I realized I don't really know where I am in the palace. Most of the hallways looks the same, and this one is no exception, though I know I'm deeper than I've been before. Kenny! Amicus' footsteps pound against the floor behind me. I don't know how far he is, considering the echoing halls can be deceptive, but I immediately take a right through a particularly large set of double doors. New room. The room I walk into is full of smells, good ones like a garden. The air is cool and fresh even as afternoon light pours in from an opening in the ceiling. All the while, there's sounds of a soft trickling of water from a small fountain in the center of the room. This place is pretty. I stand there for a moment, eyes scanning for anyone else that might be here. When I don't see anyone, I move closer to the center of the room, looking around at the flowers and plants as I try to calm my hammering heart. I know Amicus is probably going to find me soon. All he has to do is ask calm. So I fold my arms, trying to look casual, realizing now that it would have just been better for me to hang out in the hall, maybe laugh when Amicus came out. I make a joke and act like it wasn't a big deal, but it's way too late for that now. Sure enough, the door slides open. Amicus stumbles in his underwear, his fur completely mussed up, chest heaving for breath. Kenny, I need to talk about... Laughing at him is better. He doubles over, paws on his knees as he gasps in his air. I cringe as I see my flowers clutched in one of his paws. He brought the flowers. Ah! But I still try to look casual, keeping my arms folded. What? About what you just saw? Don't worry about it. I shrug before busying myself with brushing off my robes so they don't look so dirty. No, I want to explain what happened. You don't need to explain it. It's none of my business. Well, it is. It's definitely not. I snap at the wolf. Who you fuck is none of my business. That's all up to you. Don't let me tell you who you can and can't be with. Amicus frowns deeply at me. What? You heard me. I don't want to hear about it. I'm not here for this shit anyway. Here for what? I throw my hands up in frustration. What just happened? For sex or love or whatever the hell it is you guys do. Whatever it is you told me you wanted on the island. I point the flowers in his paws. I'm just trying to get home. I feel my eyes threatening to water up again, and I stubbornly swallow that down right quick. I am good at swallowing. No, that's not what that was. Please, let me explain. I shake my head. You guys have sex. It's not a big deal. I get it. Humans can be like that too. Amicus takes a step forward, but I take one back. I guess it's just a little fucked up that you confessed your feelings 2 days ago, and then suddenly you're just fucking another guy. This is all so ridiculous. Not only the situation I'm in, but the fact that I feel so hurt by the wolf, even though nothing has really happened between us except an alcohol-fueled kiss. Amicus takes another step forward, his paws up, staring wide-eyed at me. That's not what happened, and if you'll let me explain... I'm fine. Then, what did I just see? What you saw was, it was more of a transaction than anything. What, I've come? Damn, the main character got me there. Amicus chokes in surprise. Well, yes, I guess, but I made a deal with the KimmyKin. What deal? Well, I'm sure you remember our problem with Cassius. About him wanting to murder me. Yes, that's the problem. What about it? Well, I did say it wasn't something you should worry about, but like I also said, I'm taking all precaution. Yeah? Yes, so... The wolf pauses. What? I realize now that I should have consulted you on this, but it was my only immediate option. What option? Well, Cassius might be willing to execute my pet. He wouldn't dare touch the pet of a KimmyKin. What? The wolf rubs behind his neck with one paw and speaks very quickly. If I were to lose a second trial, I made it so that your ownership would transfer to Neferu. You become his pet. I stare at the wolf. This would ensure that Cassius would not dare to come after you. If he did, it might upset the very delicate relations we have with the KimmyKins. A moment of silence passes. So, I become Neferu's pet. If I somehow lose a trial, yes. I stare at the wolf. Are you okay with that? Amicus. Again with him doing things without even telling me. No conversation, no warnings, no consideration. After all this time, he still doesn't see me as an equal. What did you clip? Oh, the campfire? Amicus sees my expression change and quickly jumps in again. Thank you for the clippy. It's the best alternative. Mainly because the KimmyKins likely use their own stretch. Nefer will be able to get you home if he had to. So to pay him... He wanted sex and only seemed interested in that. Yes, trust me. I took no emotional pleasure in it. I'm quiet. Don't worry though, I made sure the contract we agreed to ensure that you will not have to be involved in anything like that. In fact, you almost be treated like a pharaoh. Amicus grins proudly. I stare at the wolf for a while, suddenly feeling numb. Are you feeling better? His voice takes on a serious tone as he reaches out and pushes a thumb pad across my cheek. The action is intimate and I turn my head away. He stands awkwardly for a moment and Amicus holds up the flower. You dropped these? I shake my head. They were for you. By the way, how do you guys feel about this? So, just in case you didn't know, in the last episode, pretty much Cassius threatened to kill me if he ever became emperor. So we lost the first trial. So technically, if we lose the second trial, then our lives would have been endangered. So what Amicus did is that he made a deal with Neferu, and pretty much if he loses the second trial, I would become Neferu's like pet. So when that happens, even if Cassius becomes emperor, he won't be able to touch me, pretty much, because I will be the property of a Kimian. And if he does do that, it will cause war between Adastra and Kimia, which Cassius, since he's smart, he won't do. So pretty much Amicus did this in order to kind of protect us. Of course, he didn't tell us, but... And the only reason he had sex with Neferu is because Neferu only wanted sex, apparently. But what do you guys feel about that? They were for you. Amicus winces. I thought so. Were you going to ask me? I feel my face getting hot. Yeah, but now... I'm suddenly enveloped in a very tight hug. Gods, that was the absolute worst moment for you to walk in. I'm sorry. I stand there limp, just letting the wolf hug me. Finally, Amicus steps back, holding the slightly wilted flower as he stares at them. I hope after that you're still considering... I sigh and shake my head, to which Amicus' ears fall. I'm just a stupid primate to you, aren't I? What? I told you before to just talk to me if you're planning something that involves me. Why couldn't you have at least given me a warning, especially for something like this? You what? It was sudden and I thought the idea might hurt you after what happened on the island. No shit. So you went behind my back? I know something you don't... Well, you don't even think, but you knew this would hurt? No, I've been busy. Not to mention negotiating these things is complicated. I'm just trying to do what's best for you, without really thinking about me or how I might feel about any of this. I'm always thinking about you, every damn hour of the day. And this is on top of the trials. Believe it or not, Kenny, I'm stretched a bit thin, and it would be helpful if you could work with me. Work with you how? Let you manipulate me into becoming your boyfriend, then watch you fuck another guy so I can become his slave instead? I've been pretending, but now it could actually become official. I can't stop the words from spilling out of my mouth, wanting to hurt the wolf just as he hurt me. The wolf stares at me. Then Amicus' hackles arise, but instead of instilling any sort of fear in me like it normally would, I feel satisfaction. Kenny, I will not have you accusing me of such things. I was more honest with you on the island than I have been with anyone in years. But not about what just happened with Neferu. What, you think I owe you celibacy? We're not dating, and you refuse to do anything with me. It may come as a surprise to you, but even in times like these, I have needs. So you did want it. Amicus looks about, ready to explode, and for a moment he just stands there in silence, practically shaking. He opens his mouth, and instead of shouting, I expect it's almost a whisper. I may not know how things work on Earth, but you know how they work on Adastra. You said yourself that these matters are casual. What happened with the jackals means nothing to me. You mean so much to me, which is why I did it to keep you safe. I shake my head. While seeing what happened in the bedroom hurt, it's really only the tip of the iceberg what's wrong with all of this. If you actually cared about me, you cared about what I want. You keep telling me how smart I am, but here we are again with you doing stuff without any of my input because you think I'm too stupid to understand. No, you wolves are all the same. We're all just stupid barbarians to you. You don't treat me as an equal, you look down on me, and why the fuck would I want to be with someone like that? That is not even... Just win your stupid trial and send me home. If you don't, just blast my stupid ape ass off into the space. I don't want to be here anymore. I turn, heading for the door. Wait, please. Whatever he was going to say suddenly cuts off as I heard a loud thud. I don't look back to see that he kicked or punched. Instead, I head out into the hall, not sure at all where I'm going. I just know that I hate everything about what just happened. For a while, I just wonder. I end up pacing the halls of the palace before going outside to sit in the gardens. I don't see anyone. It's weirdly calm outside, especially considering that the emperors could be decided tomorrow. I wonder how things are in the city in the rest of the empire. I looked out towards the faint city skylines, glinted gently in the afternoon light. Amicus doesn't come after me. Should he? I said such horrible things to him, but even now I feel like I had to say them. I'm tired of being treated like an actual pet, and now that I might actually become one. I can't believe Kimmy's missing all this. Well, Kimmy's actually been like watching the VODs for this. She's like, oh, when are you gonna do the second trial? I was like, ah, soon. Kiki's pretty invested in the story right now, which I'm kind of surprised that she is. Still, I kind of wish he did come after me again. I do believe that he was only trying to protect me, that he thought what he was doing was the only way to do that. But after everything on the beach, after I've already told him to just keep me in the loop, honestly, if he asked me about it first, even just told me about it, I probably have been okay with it. Would I? Do you really believe that? Sure, maybe a little jealous, but okay. I realize that a lot of this anger is because I just feel betrayed, and I feel that way because I really, really like Amicus. I expected him to treat me better after everything. The late afternoon heat is making me sweat, but instead of going inside, I just move under some shade. After a while, I lay back on the bench I'm sitting on, drifting off to sleep. When I wake up, it takes me a while to realize where I am. I stare at the flowers and leaves, gently lit up by the garden lights, until I remember that I've fallen asleep there. Groggily, I call for calm, and according to him, I've only been out for about 2 hours, but the sun here always moves fast across the sky. I brush a few leaves off my robes as I get up and walk towards the palace, realizing at this point that I can't exactly avoid going back to Amicus' room forever. At least it'll force us to talk about things after we've cooled down. At least I hope he's cooled down. My pace starts to slow as I get closer to his bedroom, unsure what to say after everything that happened. I decide I'm going to apologize, but also expect an apology from us as well. We both made mistakes, but we could get past this if we talked it out. Leonard is still sitting next to the door on his cart, untouched. I pause, my hand hovering over the panel. Remember what I saw the last time I opened this door. Shuddering, I steel myself and press it. The room's empty. No wolf in sight. Cold air creeps out of the room, chilling my bare calves as I continue to stand in the hallway. I realized then that I was holding in my breath, and I let it out slowly. I look up and down the hall in case I might see Amicus, but as always, it's empty. With a soft sigh, I slowly walk in towards the bed before changing directions to sit on the sofa instead. Calm has told me that it was the 18th hour, which means Amicus should be getting ready for bed by now, a schedule he follows almost religiously. Maybe he's getting ready for the trial somehow. That would be good, but I'm also getting an uncomfortable feeling that he's just avoiding me. That would be bad because despite what happened, he shouldn't be thinking at all about me. He could be the emperor tomorrow, so I sit there hugging a pillow waiting. After a while, I grab the food from the hallway and manage to eat a little bit. I wonder if I should save some for Amicus, but decided he'd be able to get his own food from the kitchen instead of these cold leftovers if he ended up returning. So I send the rest back with the drones and continue waiting. After a few more hours, Amicus still doesn't come, and I end up laying down on the sofa, waiting to fall asleep. Uh-oh. The sound of the door opening jolts me awake, and I quickly sit up, turning to look. Amicus? Oh. I stare at the jackal for a moment, feeling a sudden surge of anger in my chest. Hello, Kenny? Are you not coming to the trial? I look around. What time is it? The 7th hour, which means the trial starts in less than an hour. Where's Amicus? Preparing for the trial. He hasn't been back all night. He was meditating most of the night. All night? Indeed. I frown at the jackal. What do you want? The fairy walks further into the room slowly before stopping in the middle, a good 15 feet away. To escort you to the trial, if you like, and also to talk. About what? I've already told you that you don't need to play stupid with me, Kenny. I sit up straight, turn to face the jackal more directly. I'm not. I'm just wondering why the fuck you have the nerve to show up here after taking advantage of Amicus like that. What? I don't think I've ever seen a fairy caught off guard, so the sight is kind of funny. I smirk. Well, that's certainly a way to look at it. What other way is there to look at it? Plenty, if you let me explain. I sit back on the sofa, crossing my arms. Amicus already explained I become your pet to protect me from Cassius. In exchange for that, you made him fuck you in the ass. He's an icon. I think he's like the fan favorite. Again, the jackal looks shocked and then he laughs, the sound high and soft. Hey, Maddie. Oh dear, there are many things to look at this, aren't there? His suddenly cheerful mood irritates me. I came at a good time. Listen, I honestly don't want any part of this. Yes, but you're already part of it, whether you want it to be or not. So please allow me to explain some things. I don't say anything, keeping my arms folded, my expression bored. He got some action from our not boyfriend, but we want him to be our boyfriend, Amicus. The jackal seemed to take that as a cue to continue. Amicus approached me about this deal a week ago. Surely after the incident with Cassius, it seemed simple enough and I had to agree with him. Your position in this power struggle is becoming ever more precarious. I raised an eyebrow. How so? The rumors about Cassius' intent to disband the triumvirates have saturated the trial, even though Cato has banned all discussion of it. Word is that Cassius has realized who might have started the rumors. Nefarious looked pointedly at me, though I'm trying to keep my expression neutral. This has implication for you, obviously, but not only because you possibly sabotage his chance at the throne. I felt my stomach turn a little, realizing I've gotten myself into more than I've ever imagined. This also brings into question your intelligence. Far too intelligent for a simian, wouldn't you say? I open my mouth, but Nefer goes on. Now, with all this considered, it would only be natural for Amicus to come for me to help. Your life is in danger, Kenny, no matter the facade these peaceful palace halls might project. I stare at the jackal, surprised at how candid he's being with me. He asked me what I wanted most, and I answered truthfully, an alliance with the wolves if Amicus were to become emperor. Of course, he declined outright, as he should have, as the prospective emperor. How could he promise something so important with so many implications all over one pet? So knowing that was impossible, I offered something a bit more selfish on my part. Copulation with the handsome son of a woven emperor. To this, he only needed a few moments to agree. I grimace. But I want you to understand something, Kenny. If Amicus had found even that disagreeable, I would have simply asked for nothing. We weren't invited, Marie. We just stood there watching. It is the duty of all Chemians to protect any sapient fleeing woman violence, whether they be siblings, childs, or abandoned. Pet ownership is legal where I'm from, and the idea is quite disgusting. Don't you agree? Nefer glances at me. But Wolves loves their contract, and no matter how different Amicus might wish himself to be, he's still a wolf. He despises the idea that he might owe something to a Chemian. And his quickness to accept the deal showed me that despite how much he wanted to not want to fuck me, as you put it, there was a part of him that did, and in the end, he was willing. I look away, frowning. And I think this is something that has caused a rift between the two of you. You must understand that sex is casual here. It means nothing more than indulging in our corporal desires. It's one of the few cultural similarities we share with the wolves. I've been told that simians are more similar to cats and that such things hold much more meaning, but you are no longer a simia and must understand that things are different here. Even if he wants to, which I believe he does, Amicus can't change his philosophy over the course of a single week. I finally find room to speak. You're acting like we're in a relationship or something. You aren't, but you want to be. Amicus loves you. It's clear as Vita, as they say here. I feel that little thrill in my chest and my face blushes furiously. Nefera goes on like he didn't actually just say that though. So yes, if you don't like the idea of Amicus fucking another man, then claim him as your own man. Slay! Slay, Nefera, slay! Yeah, you tell him. Tell this motherfucker. Fucking being like, oh, I don't think we should be in a relationship. This is just all too much. You need to focus on your trial. Next day, maybe I should confess to Amicus and just let him fuck me so he can focus on the trial. Like, bitch, you've been wishy-washy this entire fucking like week. If you don't like it, claim him. He needed this brick thrown at him. Facts. Fucking leave. I frown. Claim. I don't want a man like you. I'm going by woven terms here. I'm sure you have your own. Then if Fair just asked me to ask Amicus out? Now, does that clear things up for you? Even though I just woke up, I'm already feeling exhausted. I guess there was a little more to than that, though. Which I'm sure can be settled in the future. Stable discussions can do wonders. Now we really must be getting to the trials if you want to go. Nefera raises an eyebrow at me. I find myself shaking my head, but not to deny Jackal his request. Rather, it's because I don't know what the hell this guy's up to. I get up and Nefera offers his arm to me, which I stare at. Shall I escort you? This is something I've seen Jackal do multiple times to Virginia and Alex. For some reason, he seemed to be really just enjoy escorting people around. After his little lecture, I can tell that he's trying to smooth things over between me and Amicus. So reluctantly, I reach out and take his arm in both hands, if only to please him. And pleased he seems to be, a tugging at the corner of his muzzle, making me think he's trying to smile too much. As he guides me out the door, I find myself feeling out the fur on his arm. It's much more silky and smooth compared to Amicus, not quite as fluffy. It's not as nice as Amicus' coat, but it does feel nice in a different way. Why are you filling him up? There's a lot of muscles there too, and I wonder if the Jackal works out in an amphitheater, though I've never seen him there. I guess I can see why so many people are into this guy, if muscles are your thing. If muscles are your thing, bitch. As we continue through these halls, I notice we're taking a different route than the one to the throne room. Where are we going? To meet the star of the most ascending entertainment show in the galaxy. What better to determine the fate of all things, siblings and parents alike, than through meaningless woven spectacles? What? Nefera pauses in front of a door, gently pulling away from me while his paw is held delicately up to the panel. What I'm saying is that quite a bit is depending on your wolf right now, and he might need some encouragement. I'm still staring at the Jackal when he finally presses the panel opening the door. When I look back, I find myself looking into a much smaller room, simple and bare, just a bed and a dresser. The air is thick with the calming smell of incense as it creeps into the hallway and washes over me in a warm wave. And there, sitting on the bed, is Amicus. Before I look back at Neferu, the wolf suddenly looks up. We both stare at each other for a moment, then the wolf is suddenly on his feet, stumbling towards me. He stops himself halfway across the room, though, paws clasped in front of himself. I'd never seen him so disheveled before. His fur is stuck up all over his neck and shoulders, his cape is askew, his eyes are red and bleary. Before I know it, I'm walking into the room towards the wolf. Are you okay? Amicus tries to smooth his fur down, but it sticks right back up. I'm fine. I was just meditating. You look awful. Isn't the trial in less than an hour? Yes. It's a moment of silence that goes by as I just stare at the wolf. Are you going then? You should get ready. Kenny. I stop, waiting. The pause is long, and then when Amicus finally speaks, his voice is so quiet I can barely hear it. I don't think I was meant for this. My heart sinks. Meant for what? Everything in this damn empire. I've done absolutely nothing right. Everything has been handed to me on my platter my entire life, but the first time I actually have to fight for something. I know you don't think I took this seriously, but I did. I tried. I wasn't prepared, and you were right. I see a little wetness around his eyes, but he aggressively wipes at them with an arm. While weeks ago, I might have welcomed this what? Wait, is this empathy? No, right? Empty handy. I don't know what that. I don't know. This is the absolute worst moment for it. I'm just a dumb bitch. Pretty much. Is that what he's saying? I couldn't even keep my best friend. I would have been a terrible emperor. It takes me a moment to realize that he's talking about me. Amicus. Epiphany? Epiphany! Thank you. Epiphany. Oh, for some reason, oh, that's how you spell it? I feel like I never saw that word in writing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything. That I treated you poorly, that I got you into this stupid mess in the first place, and that I can't get you out of it. Nah, Epiphany. That rough voice catches on the last part, and I wonder with some astonishment if I'm actually going to see him cry. But he managed to hold it together, looking down at the floor. Epiphany. I just wanted to do what was best for you, but I wasn't thinking of you while I did it. I was inconsiderate, and I'm sorry. Amicus stand there quietly, apparently finished. I don't know if this is more about me or about him feeling inadequate for the emperorship. I have no doubt that our little fight yesterday caused it, though. Seeing the wolf like this, it hurts, but it also makes me kind of angry. This isn't the Amicus I know. I reached up, setting a hand on his shoulder, and he suddenly looks up at me. You're less than an hour away from becoming the emperor. You need to act like it. What? You think your dad would have acted like this when he wasn't sure of himself? Your grandfather, Drusus? There's a time and place, and now is not the time. I don't know if they would have, but I'm grasping at straws at this point. And honestly, this is about a lot more than you or me or anyone here. This is about the lives of millions of sapiens, about your entire empire. You think you all deserve to go to shit because you're not really sure of yourself? You're such a good person, basically the opposite of what the society is, and you want to put that into your rule. That's amazing, but now you're suddenly willing to give up? What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, you made a bunch of mistakes, but that doesn't matter now. What matters is that you make sure that piece of shit brother of yours doesn't take the throne. So you better get your ass out there and beat the hell out of him in this stupid debate. I'm not sure what else to say, so I stop, breathing hard. After a moment, I realize the wolf is smiling at me and takes me a moment to calm down from my Hollywood movie pep talk. What? I'm going to go out there, Kenny, and there's no doubt about that. I was just having a moment. I was trying to be more honest with you, but thank you. I frown. Well, you sure picked a hell of a moment to have it. I know. I've just been having a terrible time after yesterday, is all. I needed to apologize to you. I deflated a little, but there's some relief there too, seeing Amicus somewhat back to his old self. Well, I forgive you, but this is a lot bigger than us right now. I know it is, and what I'm feeling is a lot bigger than us as well. The wolf sets a paw on my shoulder. But I'm not honest what I said. I'm sorry, and I will never do anything involving you without your consultation again, and I will take your cultural differences into better consideration in the future. I look up at Amicus and his earnest face, and I find myself hugging him, and he hugs me back tightly. We still need to talk about things, but we can do that later. You need to kick Cassie's ass first. I know. Amicus pulls back, both paws on my shoulders now. And I will. There's a gentle clearing of his throat behind us, and we both look back to see Nefer casually lounging in the doorway. If you're finished, the trial begins in 30 minutes. Immediately, Amicus scowls at the sight of the jackal, but he nods. I better be going then. So you're feeling better now? Much better, thanks to you. I smile as I feel a wave of relief, even though this is just like Amicus to be so easily cheered up. I allow the wolf to pull me towards the door. Nefera moves out of the way as we exit the stifling meditation room. Alright, I'm on my way to the shower. I'll be watching... I'll be watching you taking a shower. I mean, the rhetoric thing, I mean... Hey, I'll look for you and we'll talk about after this. Yeah, we'll talk after your empire. After your emperor. Because this is reverse Stockholm syndrome. Alright. Amicus leans in to kiss me on the lips, then pauses before planting on my cheeks instead. With that, he winks and then turns and dashes up the hall, running at a full sprint. I hear a soft chuckle behind me. Well, that went rather well. I didn't think that would be half as easy. I glance back at the jackal as he basically reveals that he's planning this all along. I guess it was obvious. Shall we head to the throne room? They'll be wanting us sitting down early so they can film us. The whole thing is a dreary spectacle after all. Alright. With that, I follow the jackal towards the throne room, hoping what I said to Amicus is enough to get him in the right headspace to help him win. In just a few hours, I'll know if I'll be leaving soon or staying for a long, long time. Either way, I'm glad that this happened. Okay, let me go pee. I'm gonna go pee because the second trial is gonna start and it's gonna be a lot. We'll see, Biggie. We will see. Let's just say things are not as simple in this visual novel. Okay. I follow Nefera to the throne room. The cavernous space is as empty as it was during the first trial. Like the first trial, though, a few of the palace regulars are sitting on the benches, Virginia on the left side of the room while Alex sits on the right. The cat sat alone, looking tiny compared to the rest of the room, his tail curled neatly under his paws in his lap. He smiles when he sees me, and I make as if his goal is to sit next to him, but that's when the jackal grabs my hand. I pause and I see Alex's own inquisitive look before I return to Neferu. What? Why don't we give Virginia some company? The jackal smiles at me gently, one of his ears flicking in the direction of the she-wolf. You can. I was gonna go sit with Alex. The first expression doesn't change, but he doesn't let go either, and his voice takes on a gentle but ominous tone, making me feel a little uncomfortable. Depending on how this trial goes, we may have some business to take care of before it officially ends. It'd be best if you are close to me. It's then that I realize what he's getting at. Although I don't know what the process of becoming Neferu's pet is, I imagine it involves some sort of official business, like signing something. So I give Alex a little frown and shrug, gesturing at the jackal. The cat continues to look at confused as I turn away and follow Neferu to the benches on the other side of the room. Neferu. Virginia sits faintly on the bench, one leg elegant crossed over the other as she holds up a paw, which the jackal kisses. Good day to you, Virginia. Even though I try to stay behind the Neferu, Virginia peers around the jackal's muscular side to stare right straight at me. I see that you brought a guest. She holds out her paw again. It takes me a moment to realize that I should kiss it. I did start that trend after all. Indeed, Amicus requested I keep him company during the trial. As I come up from the paw kissing, I see Virginia frowning. My brother shouldn't be burdening you with such silly chores like that. The pet is capable of staying in his room, I imagine. It was a mutual agreement. Besides, he's a rather good company once you get to know him. Oh, really? It seems our little Simeon's full of surprises. The she-wolf looks pointedly at me, and I don't have much time to wonder what she's talking about before Neferu is sitting down next to her, pulling me to the side to sit next to him. That would be an accurate observation. There's a momentary pause before I see Virginia leans forward a bit out of the corner of my eye. When she speaks again, her voice is lowered. So the rumors are true. There's another pause, this time from Neferu. I don't believe I'm in the position to speculate on that. It is not my place to involve myself in woven politics. Virginia laughs softly, one that sounds completely fake. I'm not a fool, Neferu. I may enjoy your suave tactics, but I'd rather you not use them against me. I would not dream of such a thing, Virginia. Surely. Virginia shifts again, and now I know for sure that she's looking directly at me. So I suppose he understands what we've been saying then. Well, he is sapient and he does possess a lingua. I mean, he understands us. Virginia puts even more emphasis on the word. I see Neferu looking at the floor, still smiling, though his paws seem to clasp each other a bit tighter than usual. You better than I, being a wolf, are children as intelligent as ourselves, so I'm used to such an idea. Don't feign ignorance, Neferu. You've been around him far more than I have. It's a simple question, and one that you should answer honestly. Otherwise, it might assume that you brought a little spy to our conversation. Although the word seems harsh and dangerous, Virginia tones is light, and Neferu just laughs. You accuse me of deception, yet we both know you already figured out the answer. Why do you feign ignorance? The wolf fans herself with the air of nonchalance. It's the best weapon in discourse, and it's easy to feign stupidity, at least for me. It is expected on my part. And why would you say something like that? I have a vagina, Neferu. It takes me a moment to absorb what Virginia just said, but Neferu is already chuckling with what's probably the first genuine laugh of the conversation. I see Alex look over at us again, and this time it looks like his eyes are narrowed a bit. It takes the jackal a few seconds to get himself under control again, as Virginia continues to wave her fan, looking rather pleased with herself. Sorry, I'm not used to bluntness here. It's not impossible for us to be blunt on this moon. Neferu, especially amongst friends. I notice the wolf is looking at me again, and once again I look down. Anyways, it seems we made quite the mistake in overlooking Simia. I may have to do a little research of my own on the archives. Amicus clearly knew something that we did not. Research? I feel my stomach drop. Although Amicus had assured me of things, I don't even know if I really look like a simian. All it might take is a picture to know that I'm not actually from Simio. I should just put that thought out of my mind for now as the door suddenly opens and Kato walks in, making his way quickly to the throne. Virginia finally takes her eyes off of me and can only hope that she's not going to follow through on her research plans. The throne room is so quiet that I hear the old wolf grunt as he makes his way up the stairs before turning to face us. After a few seconds, he sits down, his heavy muscular body slouched a bit in his seat, gazing out at us through his visor. A few more moments pass in silence, and just as I'm wondering if the trial is going to begin, I hear a soft mechanical whirling sound as the panel on the ceiling opens up. A dozen camera drones drift down lazily, fanning out in the air to position themselves in various locations throughout the room. One of them float towards us and hover just above our heads, the lens seeming to focus on my face. I dropped my head again, the action having become second nature since I landed on this moon. The fairy nudged me through. Come now. Amicus brought you here to be seen. His tone is light as always, but I sense he's not saying that just to tease me. We're all playing a role here, and my role is to make Amicus look good. To show off to the triumvirates that he went to great length to obtain an exotic, fascinating alien pet. I might not like it, but that doesn't matter right now, so I lift my head. Instead of the dumb, vacant gaze I've been using this past month, I go with a completely straight face. Watch the red light on the top of the drone. When it turns green, know that you're being broadcast. The second trial will begin in 10 seconds. With that, the light slowly dims and everything goes completely silent. I just sit there looking towards the throne, Cato sitting as motionless as an ancient Roman sculpture. Then the door opens, and we all look over, including the cameras. In walk Amicus and Cassius side by side. They must have been waiting out there next to each other just like Alex and I had been before the second trial. I have to wonder what that must have been like. Without a word, the two of them walk up the broad, carpeted aisles in sync with each other. I stare intently at Amicus as he passes, just in case he looks at me and I can give him an encouraging smile. He looks straight ahead though, a more serious expression on his face than I've ever seen. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Cassius. Oh, there's an ad. Here, I'm gonna wait until the ad finish. Just in case for the people who are watching who are not subbed there. I'll just take a sip of water. Ah. Not gonna lie, I kind of like Cassius armor more than Amicus. Oh. I like Amicus more than Cassius. But Cassius looks nice too, I guess. Everything stays quiet, the only sound being the muffled shuffling of their padded feet and claws on the carpet. Once they reach the floor of the stairs, they come to a stop before they both bow deeply to Cato. This lasts a few seconds before Cato finally shifts again, breaking the illusion that he was made out of stone. Very good. You may proceed. It's kind of bitchy, but I can fix them. Here we go, guys. The second trial. With that, the two brothers straighten up back up before walking up the steps, splitting off the stand to either side of the acting emperor. They turn around and face us, both standing at attention, arms straight down at their sides. A drone levitates down from the ceiling, coming to a gentle stop mid-air in front of Cato. I notice the tiny red light on top of the drone turns green, and the old wolf fixes his eyes on the camera. Welcome to the trial of the rhetoric. Rhetoric has long been a staple of the woven civilization and one of our greatest assets. While known for our strength and tenacity, so too are we known for our words in negotiation. Nefarious snorts next to me, loud enough that I wonder if Cato was able to hear it. I hope not. This is why it's not only important that we honor the art and history of debate today, but also prove our ability to use it as well. Being a competent rhetorician is essential to becoming a competent emperor. Remember the rules. You will have the floor for 20 minutes. Do not reference your challengers. Now Amicus. I see the slightest of twitches in Amicus' frame as he continues to stare ahead. Yes, Emperor. Please honor Adastra and proceed to the floor. Offer your policies through the art of speech. There's a slight pause, then Amicus makes his way down the stairs. If he's nervous, which I know that he is, he's not showing at all, his movement calm and reserved. He walks several paces forward, away from the stairs to stand in the middle of the aisle, just slightly ahead of me. He's so close, and I wish I could just say something, get up and give him a hug and tell him that he's gonna do great. But I know that time has passed, that the moment that everything has been building up to has just arrived. It's a strange feeling, Watching something that's going to have such a huge impact on your life, but not being able to participate at all. I can only hope that Amicus is ready. He begins to speak, and when he does, it's not like his usual voice. Instead, it's deeper, broader, sonorous, I guess. Actually, it's closer to human singing. 20 millennia ago, we were chosen by the Romanus. Out of the 1,000 species, they chose us, and was that not for a reason? He's moving his arms and paws a lot too, in broad sweeping motions. It's not unlike the dance, though he mostly stays in the same spot. 50 millennia ago, we rejected them. We became the first abandoned siblings, and our empire entered a decline of likes that we had never seen before. Closing off relation with siblings, losing children, losing resources. A drone floats around his body, and could tell he's playing up the performance to it, dramatically gesturing with overly exaggerated expressions. I realize that it's like I'm watching those dramas I've seen on Adastra television. We fell long and hard, as our very moon was sucked into the pit. 5,000 years of misery and desolation, 5,000 years until Drusus saved us all. Amicus goes on to describe the history, that a vague knowledge of how Drusus re-established contact with the parents, reunited the Woven Empire and renamed the world Adastra, a name that represented everything the Empire stood for. Since then, we've spread far and wide across the galaxy, found lost children, established roads to resources our moon desperately needed. But what we found to be most valuable, rekindling diplomatic relations with the other siblings. With them, we share knowledge and wealth, establishing ourselves as true siblings once again, until the war. While our reasons were sound for initiating the conflict, the sudden and unexpected attack frightens the other siblings, leaving them to abandon us once more. We defended our rights and our dignity from the Chemians. Oh, Adastra. The fairy muttered that under his breath thankfully. But as a great cost, our empire suffered for our victory. But there's a way to reverse this. I don't know if the wolf is doing a good job since I have no point of reference. But as far as I can tell, he seems to be doing great. No stuttering or stumbling. He's acting pretty good, especially if I'm comparing him to a dramatic actor I've seen on the screens. His movements are powerful, but elegant just like his voice, and I find myself beaming with a sense of pride that I've never had for someone else before. He goes on describing the policies that he's already told me about, reestablishing relations with the siblings, fully uplift the children, reshape their roles in the empire. And the first step. Amicus suddenly turns to face us. Through its gaze is on Neferu. An alliance, one that has been proposed by the Chemians. This may seem like a worrying prospect to you. It has never been done in the history of those galaxias, but I can promise that while Emperor, I will demand respect and equal treatment from the Chemians. Their arrogance will be tamed and woven dignity will be restored. The lights on the camera drawn in front of us is green, broadcasting our image to the entirety of Adastra. I'm at least glad that Nefer is able to control his eye rolling right now. Within the course of my rule, I will place Adastra on the same pedestal as all other siblings. If not higher, no longer will we be the half-siblings of the galaxies. No, we will once again stretch beyond our system, beyond our quadrant, and yes, eventually beyond the galaxy. Amicus points to the ceiling. As Drusus proclaimed 10 million millennia ago, to the stars. So I say now, to the stars and beyond. Amicus pauses dramatically in that pose, then bows before turning and walking back to the throne. Thank you, Amicus. Cassius? I let out a breath, watching as Amicus makes his way up to the steps. Passing Cassius as his brother makes his way to the same spot on the floor. So that's it. Amicus' part is done. Now it's Cassius' turn, and I watch as he walks to the same spot, an angry scowl on his face. It's angrier than usual, almost furious, and I wonder if he's upset about how well Amicus had done. But then he starts speaking, and I realize it's part of his show. For 300 years, our empire has been shambles. I jump and I feel Neferu tense up next to me as the white wolf practically screams. Not because of the war, not because we chose different paths. No, this is because Drusen's flawed vision of the galaxy as a whole. My brother was right about one thing. Adastra is the lowest of the low among the siblings, the laughingstocks of the entire galaxy. No reference to Amicus, Cassius. Kato barks from across the throne room, but the other wolf ignores him, swiping his paw through the air, his movement aggressive and violent. Enough of being the butt of jokes, of being spat on, of being considered at the level of mere children. It is time for Adastra to once again be respected, revered, and feared, just like before Drusus. Cassius' speech goes on like that, describing Adastra in terms that makes it sound like the worst part in the galaxy to be. I don't know if this is good or not. He's definitely being more intense than Amicus was, and if that's the goal, then I'm worried. I glance over at Neferu and Virginia, and the troubled looks on their face tells me that I should be even more worried. I look up towards the throne, but Amicus is still in straight face as ever. I feel myself start to sweat. Wonder if this is the beginning of the end. My brother stated that the war was responsible for a sudden decline. A decline not so sudden when it's been happening for thousands of years. No, that war was the best thing that could have ever happened to this empire. It showed that we were unafraid, intimidated by the most powerful forces in the galaxy. We were mocked and we laughed at the openly before the war. Now those laughs are quieter. Behind Dingley pauses as our sibling realize just how dangerous we can be. They take us seriously now. Cassius turns angry gaze on us, but not so seriously enough. Look who they sent to propose this alliance that my brother spoke of. No reference to Amicus, Cassius. But Cato's quieter now as he knows he can't stop the young wolf. Our camera light turns green, and once again I get the feeling that the broadcast is displaying Neferu. The one and only, the flower of Chemia, the Pharaoh's faggot son with his oils and perfumes stinking up the halls of our palace. I glance up at Neferu, but his expression has hardly changed, though I see a hint of smirk on his lips. Meanwhile, Virginia is hiding a look of shock or horror, or both behind her fan. This alliance is highly suspect, and I must wonder what is really going on during these negotiations. Actually, let me give you an idea. Cassius makes a sort of signal with his paw, then pauses. Everything is silent for a moment, and looking at the cameras, none of them are green. I look around at the others and can tell that they're confused as well. What are you broadcasting, Cassius? Cassius doesn't even turn around to acknowledge Kato. Just showing a small video clip. Of what? I see Amicus bristling next to Kato, and I feel the hair standing up on my own neck. Of a traitorous act between my brother and the flower jackal. What? Amicus is so puffed out that he looks almost twice his natural size. What are you doing? Yes, Cassius, what are you doing? Kato, he bugged my room! Amicus starts to move, but Kato reaches out from his throne to hold him back. Stay there, brother. It's almost over. And don't worry, it's censored. Cassius sneered back at Amicus before the red light on his drone suddenly turns green again. Cassius stares at the lens for a moment, letting the silence drag out for a dramatic effect. Shocking, is it not? I already described the flower Chemia. Do we also want the flower Adastra to be our empire? Time, Cassius. Kato's voice is soft, sounding almost astonished. Amicus is clearly having a much harder time keeping his emotion in check now. Even from this distance, I can see him working his jaw. But Cassius doesn't seem to be finished. And let me leave you with this. Time, Cassius, yield the floor. No, I will not yield. Adastra is one out of time. This empire is stretched thin, and the tail raisers propose that we stretch even further? When do we break? Cassius whirls around and points the fingers at Amicus. He looks towards the children and the siblings while completely ignoring us. Cassius' bristled fur slowly starts to lay down again, the wolf making a show of trying to get himself under control again. So let me leave you with this. While campaigning in the outskirts of the Adastra city, areas where my brother completely neglected, I came across a young child with the same disease that afflicts me. Cass's voice becomes much more quiet, gentle, lowering his muzzle a bit to stare at the floor. Unlike me, she had no medication to speak of because her poor farming family could not afford it. She was bound to a wheelchair, her bones so frail that something as simple as a bath caused them to dislocate and break. Cass's voice catches, and to my surprise I see a tear slide down his cheek. How dare this empire let our people fall into such a state that we cannot even care for our own people? I'm hearing that even now we can't afford to vaccinate those beyond our glittering city. Cassius looks back at the camera. It may seem as we cannot hear you past the walls of this palace, but I hear you. I promise to always hear you. I will not cater to the needs and the wants of the siblings or children, to the Adastra city's elites or the officials. Cassius sweeps the paw dramatically to his chest. Not to the stars, but to you, the people of the Empire. Thank you. Cassius bows low to the camera before turning to walk back to the throne. There's a long moment of silence as we all just stare at the white wolf. The calm's voice crackles over our heads. Welcome back, Nuri. So all of Adastra saw the fucking between Amicus and Neferu. So that's why the last time I streamed in that part, Cassius was sneaking around in Amicus's room, so he bugged Amicus's room while he was there. Hi, David. Babe, you call, I can't hear a thing. I have got no service in the club. You say yes. You say. Oh, is that telephone? I'm like, wait, are you referencing a music? Bonjour. Hi, David. Honestly, I would be impressed if I saw that. Amicus probably has a huge hog. They're like, oh, I need to see more of that from the Emperor. The Emperor's dog. Triumvirates, make your decisions. Suddenly I feel something grasp around my wrist and look down to see Neferu's furry black paw holding on to me. It's so early. What's for breakfast, David? Kenny, very quietly we are going to get up and head to my room. We'll move around the back so the cameras do not see. Why? Because what Amicus had feared is about to. The Triumvirates have made their decisions. I see Neferu's eyes widen in surprise. Already? He seems to say it to himself, but he stands, and I have to stand with him as he starts to walk up the aisles towards the back of the room, pulling me along with him. I look back at Amicus and see the wolf looking right back at me, finally. His eyes are full of worries and regrets, and I can tell that everyone's know that Cassius has won. My stomach drops, and I realize that what I've been terrified of happening all month is actually happening. We've lost. I can only stare at Neferu's muscular arm as it pulls me towards the door, towards an unknown and unwanted future. Lupus? After all this time, after everything we've done, we've lost. Amicus. Neferu pauses. I look up at the ceiling towards where I always imagined Calm to be if he were real, and then I look back at the throne. I rotate. Amicus. Amicus looks as shocked as I am. Cassius, meanwhile, has his jaws set grimly. As always, I can't read Kato. Lux? Amicus. Gibby? Amicus. What the hell is going on? It had just seemed like everyone thought Cassius was going to win, and if it was all based on performance, then he should be winning. Tricelli? Amicus. There's a pause. One that has me realizing that we just won? Did we really just win? Adastra? Kato is staring straight ahead with his visor, and now I can see his paws gripping into the armrest of his throne. The silence goes on so long that Kam asks again. Adastra. Kato lets the silence continue for several more seconds before finally opening his muzzle. Cassius. I don't know what to think, but Kam immediately responds. The trial has been decided. Amicus is the victor. The silence that follows this time is deafening. No one cheers. No one moves. Even Virginia's fan is frozen as we're all stuck in the picture. All the while, the camera continues to hover over our heads, each one of them flashing green for a moment. Finally, Kam is again the one to break the silence. This concludes the second trial. Thank you. With that, the camera light turns off completely and the drones hover up towards the compartment in the ceiling. The light comes back on. As they do, Nefer is once again pulling me towards the door. I want to hold back and watch, but the jackal is insistent, and the next thing I know, the doors are quietly sliding open, and we're walking into the equally silent, though much less tense atmosphere of the marble halls. I met Kimmy, not mommy. Same thing, right? Where are we going? We just won. As I say that, I feel the excitement finally replaced the shock. We won! Nefera, we won! Clearly, but that does not mean you are safe. Yet. What? Nefera is quiet for a moment. At this point, the jackal is having let go of my hand, allowing me to follow behind him. What even happened? Who do you think should have won, Kenny? I frown. Does that matter? The triumphers decided. Amicus won. True, but not just the triumphers we're watching. We all know who should have won. I feel myself getting defensive. Cassius was being a total asshole, and besides he cheated, he went over his allowed time and referenced Amicus at his points. Nefer laughs mirthlessly. The rules do not matter. I'm sure you've probably realized that by now. Cassius did exactly as he should have, but he lost because of you. What? The triumphers were clearly made the decisions long before the trial. We were hoping that they would not go against the will of the people, but Cassius' performance forced them to. Cassius has a huge small dick energy. You're talking about the rumors about Cassius getting rid of them. That would be the one. I had thought that such a clearly lopsided win on Cassius' part would have been deterred at least most of them, though their hunger for power is insatiable, it seems. Again, I feel myself getting defensive, but there's also a sense of worry creeping in. Well, I don't know. I think Amicus is great. Besides, it's their role to keep the Emperor's powers in check anyways, isn't it? Yes, but that's not the point of the trials, and the people know that. Adastra will not be happy about this. Well, what does that mean, then? We come to a stop in front of Amicus' room, and finally the jackal turns to face me. That I cannot tell you. I am not an expert on the politics of Adastra. I am simply a student here. Amicus may have won this battle, but I can guarantee that the power struggle is far from over. Amicus can explain more to you when he arrives. For now, I'll wait for him in his room. The jackal starts to turn to leave, but seems to notice the confused and probably worried looks on my face. I finished Super Mario Dog Remake? What's that? Is it like an emulator game? He pauses, then sets a paw on my shoulder. Do not fret too much over this. It's par for the course in woven politics. That much I do know. Drama's in their identity, and we can only be along for the ride. Nefera smiles at me. Oh, RPG? Oh. I never played the original or the remake. Amicus will keep you safe, and there's a need you have that he cannot fulfill. I am also here. Yeah, I'm not sure. The autocorrect is like not on your side today. I know the fairy tends for that to sound salacious, but I also think he means it in a nice way. I put my hand on his paw. Thanks. The jackal nods at me before turning away to walk up the hall, probably towards his own room. Once he's out of sight, I press my hand to the panel and walk into Amicus' room, sitting on the sofa to wait. It's strange. Amicus won, but it doesn't exactly feel that way after what Nefer just told me. Amicus didn't genuinely win. We won because of a rumor, basically making the entire trial thing pointless. Still, I can't exactly feel bad about that. Cassius bugged this very room to show footage of Amicus fucking Neferu. I closed my eyes, rubbing them with a hand as I realized how much that might have damaged Amicus' reputation. Not only do people realize his trial was decided from the beginning by corrupt triumvirates, but also that their soon-to-be emperor has sex with a male, a Kimian male at that. But again, Cassius losing because of his intention to get rid of one of the few checks on his power seems like karma to me. Weren't they keeping the emperor's power in check by making the decision that they did? Technically, Amicus will become emperor now, though I guess it won't be official until Cassius actually concedes the third trial. I turned these thoughts over and over in my head for the next 20 minutes, a bit annoyed by the fact that even though I got exactly what I wanted, several issues had come with it. Suddenly the door slides open, and I forget my worry for just a moment as I see Amicus standing there. He only gets a few steps into the room before I'm already there, wrapping my arms around his body as I hug him. Whoa, hey Kenny, everything alright? The wolf sets up heavy paw on my head, rubbing the pads gently against my scalp. Are you? Of course! Amicus smiles down at me warmly, but having known him this long, I know this is not exactly true. Well, we won. We did. He's quiet for a bit, continues to rub my head. This isn't really how I imagined it would go. Amicus laughs softly. Neither did I, but we did win, and that's the important part. Amicus hugs me tightly again. Is what Cassius did, what he showed, how bad was that? Amicus grimace. Bad, but I'll find a way to get through that. Seeing my first job as emperor will be rebuilding my image. When do you become emperor? As soon as Cassius gets up. I don't think he's in the mood to do that quite yet though. We stand there for a while, Amicus continuing to stroke my head as I lean it against his chest, listening to the soft beat of his heart. I'm just glad it's over. I feel the same. So what's next? Well, for now, I must go to the city. The triumvirates requested the imperial families to be seen at once. Oh. Why? Well, everyone assumes that the trial to be over. They like to discuss things with the family before they leave Adastra for their own city. I see. They also requested that you go. I lean back to look up at the wolf. Really? Yes, though I had told them not to expect it. I know you wanted to see the city, but it's up to you. Well, it won't be the actual city, just the district where the delegates lives. Things are a bit chaotic in the city center at the moment. Chaotic? The citizens are excited after the trial. Ah. I imagine excited means angry. I could, but doing official stuff seems kind of scary. You wouldn't have to do anything, just look happy to be there, but it's up to you. Would it help you? Possibly. I would certainly be happy to have you there. Then sure. The wolf eyebrows goes up in surprise. Oh really? Well, alright then. Let's go. Now? Yes, I believe the others are already in the chariot. Are you ready? I think so, unless I need to bring anything. Not at all. And sorry, I know things are moving fast at the moment. It's to be expected at the trial, but we could talk in private when we get back, alright? Okay. Amicus is already turning to pull me along, but I stop him. When he turns, I do what I wanted to do since right before the trial started, and I kissed him on the lips. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. The chariot is really just a large metallic carriage. It has benches inside with an open top. There are no horses, of course, and it seems to move on its own. It isn't the first time that I've seen wheels being used for transportation here, though. As we're walking up to it, I notice Virginia and Neferu already sitting in the front, and Cassius is in the back with Alex. He's very deliberately looking away from us. That's pretty cute, not gonna lie. Hey, Dark Sanctuarium. Welcome on in. So I'm gonna do just a little bit more. I'm gonna leave it off in a really cute part. Then something bad's gonna happen, but I won't do that this episode. I'll do that next episode. But I want to end it in a really cute scene. So I whisper to Amicus as we get closer to the chariot. Cassius is going? Yes, I think Kato made him go. Despite everything the White Wolf has done, especially in the trial, I can't help but feel a little sorry for him. I can't imagine having to go in the public right after your year-long campaign was defeated. Amicus hops in first, sitting next to Virginia before reaching down to me to pull me up next to him. I thought we'd be flying there. We usually do, but since the airships we used to take to the city crashed a few months ago, we decided the chariot is safer and more inconspicuous. Yes, something that will come in handy considering the state of the city right now. Yes. What's the state of the city? Virginia fixes her eyes on me, really looking at me for the first time in a while. Riots, looting, the usual, though a bit unusual for Adastra City compared to, say, Lux. Amicus glances at me, but that's when there's a sudden jerk as the chariot moves forward towards the tree line. Virginia looks at Amicus. I must say, your pet is much more fascinating than I originally thought. He could barely speak when I first met him. Yes, he was shy. I guess I should have told Amicus that my act has been exposed at this point. Well, we must reconnect with the Simia then. They seem oddly intelligent. Yes, oh thank the god for the trees. Vita's much too harsh today. Amicus clearly tries to change the subject as the road turns into a thick forest. We're blanketed in an eerie green glow as the forest envelops us. Strange glowing insects flies around our carriage, and I notice how ancient the tree looks, gnarled and rough, almost completely blocking out the sky. Hopefully they allow us to freshen up a bit before the ceremony. I'll be a mess by the time we reach the city. Virginia whips out her large, embroidered fan again, waving it frantically in her face. I kinda wish I had one too. My skin almost immediately sticky in the humid air. You will look fine. Besides, we'll all be in the same state. Amicus glances over the jackal. I have to wonder what brought you along, Neferu. My presence was requested. By whom? Oh, for the sake of Vita, don't start, Amicus. What? I'm simply curious. No, you're trying to start a fight, which is the last thing we need in front of the triumvirates. Besides, isn't your policy to befriend Kemians? An alliance isn't a friendship. Kemian sees it as a friendship. Besides, everyone probably thinks you're already very close after what was broadcast. Virginia! She hides her smirk behind the fan as Neferu grins beside her. I'm simply reminding you that it might still be fresh in everyone's mind when we get there. Amicus slumps in his seat, legs stretched out in front of him. All the more reason to seem distant. They will probably affect my reputation for years. Oh, don't be so dramatic. The people love such scandals. They simply pretend to be outraged. Amicus snorts but doesn't say anything more, signaling that the conversation is over. I wonder if Cassius is sitting right behind us, is listening in. Probably. I find the whole thing strange. The wolf that tried to sabotage Amicus by leaking what was basically a porno sitting right behind us. I turn my head ever so slightly, trying to look back at Cassius to see if he's looking at us. I don't see anything, so I turn around more fully and find that the white wolf is laying down, eyes closed with his head in Alex's lap. Alex looks up at me and smiles with a wave. I wave back awkwardly before quickly turning around. People love scandal and gossip. And they got to see two hot husbandos fucking. I'm so jealous. Virginia and the Ferris seems to be caught up in their own conversations at the moment while Amicus continues to sulk, staring at his feet. So, what exactly is going to happen when we get there? Oh well, the meeting with the triumvirs, as I said earlier. After that, we'll likely go to the street of the district to visit the shops and the restaurant. So I'll just stand next to you. Yes. Alright. For the rest of the ride, I lean against Amicus' side, and after several minutes, I start to nod off. Amicus notices and wraps his arm around me, and I'm able to comfortably lean against his chest to fall asleep. I'm jealous. The next thing I know, I'm being nudged awake by Amicus. I find myself staring at several buildings, a sudden change in scenery leaving me dazed. I'm still trying to get my bearings as Amicus hops out of the carriage, reaching up to lift me down. When I look back up, I'm able to see a large group of wolves off to the side watching us intently. Immediately I feel self-conscious, the crowd being the largest gathering of wolves I've seen in person. Right? They come in all shapes and sizes, and I'm surprised to see a few of them that are almost as short as I am. The one characteristic that all of them share, though, is their thick body structure. Amicus guides me around to stand in front of the chariot, with Nefaria, Virginia, Cassius, and Alex holding me close to his side. One of the old bulls stepped forwards from the group. Welcome, Imperial families. Thank you so much for coming to this day for the second trial. It was a marvelous show. That seems like a bold thing to say after a clip of Nefaria and Amicus having sex was shown. There doesn't seem to be any awkwardness though, the old wolves looking eager to talk to Amicus. I am Cicero, first triumvirate of Arote. The old man walks towards Amicus, setting his paws on the bigger wolf's shoulder and touching the sides of their muzzles together. Out of the corner of my eyes, I notice Cassius shooting us a sour, angry look. The wolf and Amicus had a short conversation, the older wolf asking Amicus what he thought of Arote, what problems the city was currently having, and how they might proceed in the future. After that, he then moves on to Virginia, where the conversation is much shorter. Another wolf from the group moves forward to talk to Amicus, the conversation following a roughly similar pattern. There's no talk about Amicus being emperor, but the assumption is there, and when each of them gets to Cassius, it's almost as equally brief as it was with Virginia. Despite the novelty of the situation, I quickly become bored, and the conversation blends together very quickly as over a dozen of these old wolves come forward to introduce themselves to Amicus. For his part, Amicus does a really good job of seeming enthusiastic for each introduction, mentioning that he already knows who they are and that he thinks very, very highly of their city and region. Occasionally, they'll glance at me and comment on how strange I look, though it's usually with a positive tone, congratulating Amicus on snagging me. That does seem to make Amicus uncomfortable, but I keep a straight face and bow each time, seeming to delight the old wolves in my etiquette. Eventually, these introductions ends, but as we start to move towards the shop, the triumvirates continue to follow us, and I find myself having a harder time keeping up with Amicus. He's practically surrounded by the triumvirates. I give up on trying to stay next to him, and even though he keeps glancing at me and calls me to me a few times, I just wave him on, choosing instead to walk alongside Nefaria and Virginia. Sure, it's annoying, but he's about to become emperor, so it makes sense that he's so popular. As we walk through the streets, Wolves calls out to Amicus from the doorways and windows, and he tries to wave at all of them. Further up the road, a group of children puppies shows up with flowers in their paws, handing them out to Amicus and the triumvirates. As I watch this happening, I notice a particularly patchy-looking child, no taller than my waist, standing off to the side awkwardly, looking right at me as she holds a flower in her paws. I pause, unsure if she meant to give it to me. When I do, she moves closer. So I bend over, reaching out, and her eyes widen, probably simultaneously horrified and fascinated at getting the crazy alien's attention. Nevertheless, she comes closer and shyly pushes the crumpled, wilted flower into my hands before suddenly leaning in and touching the side of her face to mine. For a moment, I see her watery, bloodshot eyes. Then I feel the slightly damp fur brush my skin before she makes an odd yelping sound and run off down the street. I stare after her, wondering if I'd done something wrong. Found yourself the gift. I look down at the white flowers, noticing that the several petals are missing. I guess that one didn't look healthy, did she? Not really. Maybe Cassius had a point with his speech. I think they both made good points, honestly. The fair gestured at the gaggles of wolves moving further and further away from us. Better catch up before they leave us behind. Yeah. I look down at the flowers again, a bit uneasy now, before dropping it to the ground, feeling a little guilty as I do. Even though the ceremony is technically over, the triumvirates don't seem to want to leave Amicus alone. I'm kind of amazed at how well Amicus is dealing with them, considering how irritated I'm feeling. Amicus tries to bring me over to his side a few times, pointing out the trinkets and souvenirs that he tries to explain, as if wanting to show me a bit of Adastrian culture. It's nice, and I can tell that he wants to involve me, but it's far too busy with the triumvirates and local breaking in every 5 seconds to ask or tell Amicus something. I wish he could just tell them to go away, but I know it doesn't work like that. On top of this, my joints are really starting to ache from all this walking, and I wonder if living in the palace for so long has made me soft. Eventually, I just trowed the group of wolves, browsing the goods after they do. It's interesting, sure, but everything's so similar to what we have on Earth. Necklace, earrings, brushes, clothes, nothing all that mind-blowing. Eventually, Amicus very loudly calls out that he'd like to go to a restaurant with his pet, if everyone could please allow him through. I take this as my cue to move to his side, and he immediately puts an arm around mine, holding me close. As we walk up the street, the many wolves still follow behind us. Amicus put his muzzle close to my ear, sending a bit of a chill over my neck, one that's oddly painful. Everything okay, Kenny? You seem a bit uncomfortable. I shrug. Everything around here is new to me, so I guess I do feel a little bit off. Well, let's settle down in the restaurant. We can cool off and catch our breath there. The wolf gives me a quick squeeze with his arms, and despite my slightly sour mood, I can't help but smile a bit. I mean, it is kind of cool that my friend is so... I mean, it's kind of cool that my friend is so popular, even if it's because he's going to be the next emperor. We walk into a small but cozy restaurant, and I can tell right away that it's rather upscale with its carved pillars and fancy tapestries on the wall. Friend. We're calling each other friend now, I guess. Then again, everything in this district is kind of upscale, I guess. The triumphers follow us right into the restaurants though, and I let out a frustrated sigh. Amicus noticed right away and signals at a wolf standing behind the podium. This particular wolf is staring at us wide-eyed, apparently gobsmacked at seeing the soon-to-be emperor show up to his restaurant. He practically trips over himself to get to us, banging his hip on the side of the table as he does. Yes, your majesty? Amicus grimaced. Just Amicus, please. Could you get us a secluded table, preferably one with no one seated next to us? Oh, of course. The wolf stumbles over himself again before leading us to a corner of the restaurant, gesturing at a table there. He then turns to a couple next to the table and begins to frantically hiss at them to move. They stare at him in astonishment until Amicus steps in to stop him. They're fine. Just, don't let any of that group over there sit next to us, if that's alright. Amicus jerked his head over at the gaggles of old wolves, all of them staring at us rather hawkishly. Oh, yes, of course! He hurries off towards said group, and we're finally able to sit down or lay down. The seats are of course in Roman style. Amicus settles down with a huge sigh, stretching his big body over the bed. So we're gonna have a cute moment here. Okay. Sorry about that. I should have warned you about how frustrating it can be with all the pointless chatter. I shrug. Seems about right for politics. Oh, it is, but don't worry, it's rare that all the triumphers are in the city all at once. This is for the trial, of course. Yeah, makes sense. You sure you're okay? I can never seem to tell. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It really does like follow like Roman like history, I guess, or like Roman like culture. So, you know, back in the those days, they had these like these beds where people just like lay down, I guess. So they've been very kind of like true to that kind of like historical accuracy or background or whatever you want to call it, which I think is pretty interesting. I'm fine. I rub my arm. The skin's sensitive and sore, just like my joints. I wonder if I'm getting sunburned too. Alright, so what do you think of the city? This part of it, at least. I wish I could take you to where the skyscrapers are, but as I said, things are a bit chaotic at the moment. It's pretty cool. I wouldn't exactly be out of place on Earth. Definitely different, but really similar. Ah, well, you were uplifted by us after all. Yeah, so this is what you're gonna do as Emperor? Come to the city and just talk? Amicus chuckles. Oh, there will be much more to it. I'm sure. I'm hoping Cato will teach me a bit if he's able to get over the trial. I remember that Cato did vote for Cassius. He's probably fierce about it right now. Won't you have like advisors and stuff? Well, yes, but I must choose them. Would you choose Cato? I could. Will you? Well, maybe, but recent events have left me a bit unsure of that. What's that? Amicus shakes his head. Don't worry about it now. We should be celebrating. I mean, you could become emperor at any moment. Shouldn't you have someone who's good at, who's got a good head on their shoulders at the ready? Yeah, I suppose. Who would you suggest? I get the feeling that he's goading me to offer myself, but that's definitely wouldn't be the case. The few of us I know make the decision pretty easy. Virginia. Amicus raises his eyebrows in slight surprise. Oh, well, yes, I would definitely consider her. The only problem is the image of a female telling me what to do. The tail raiser reputation is bad enough. I roll my eyes. Maybe woven masculinity is something you can fix while you're emperor. Amicus doesn't seem to know how to answer that, but he doesn't have to as our food arrives. I'm a bit surprised since we didn't order, but looking around it seemed that everyone gets the same thing. There's the usual olives, grapes, cheese, and bread, but also seafood and even eggs, which surprised me. Amicus thinks a nervous waiter before immediately starting to dig in. I do the same, but while I'm spreading the cheese onto the bread, my mind wanders back to what might be happening in the city right now. So, how bad are things in the city? No one seems that concerned about it. From what I've been told, it's fairly mild. Riots are common in Adastra, but they don't last long. I think the people will calm down within the next few days. Oh, okay. So they don't dislike you or anything? It takes Amicus a moment to swallow down his mouthful of bread before speaking. No, most of the anger is directed at the triumvirates. I would say, though, I have my work cut out in rebuilding my reputation. I know. Because of the sex video. Meh, yes. Amicus tries to smile off lightheartedly, but I can see his ears turning red. It must be weird being out in public like this, knowing that everyone saw it. I was told by one of the triumphers from Lux to simply say that it was fake. Not sure if it'll work. Could be a good idea. Really, the biggest issue is that it legitimizes the alliance process with the Chemians. The people will believe that I'm beholden to Neferu somehow. Amicus' expression finally falls a bit, staring down at the food as his munching slows down. I'm sure they'll get over it. From what I've been told, it seems like they're quick to forget. Well, yes, as soon as the next scandal comes along. Hopefully, not one involving me. Yeah. We ate in silence a while, and I can tell something heavy is on Amicus' mind. Let me drink water. Oh, thanks for the hydrate. This part is very important. I gotta put all my heart and soul to it. Oh yeah, let me stretch too. That seems like a good idea. Thank you guys. In the meantime, I'm a bit distracted with the itching specific spots on my arms, feeling tiny little bumps on my skin. I wonder if I'm allergic to something in the meal, so I stop eating for the moment, choosing instead to lounge on the bed. Kenny, I've been meaning to ask you something. Yeah? Do you want to stay here even after I become emperor? The question catches me by surprise, and I'm left to try to gather my thoughts for a moment as Amicus continues to look down. What do you mean? Amicus sighs and glances at me. I'm sighing too, Amicus. I mean, do you want to stay here with me even if you have the ability to go home? Amicus quickly looks down again. I'm sorry. I know it's not my place to ask, but I thought I might as well ask. I stare at him for a moment and I look down too. You know I need to go back, do I? At the very least, I need to let my friends and family know that I'm okay. I know that they're looking for me in Italy right now, probably all of Europe at this point. I need to let them know. Amicus cough hastily. Of course. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to come back. I do. I just know that there are problems. I lower my voice as I remember that we're in a public place and that mentioning illegal first contact would not be a good idea. If we can fix the problems, honestly, I'd love to come back and stay for a long time. I kind of surprised myself with that statement, but it's true. Amicus glances at me in surprise. Really? Yeah, if it wasn't a risk to your empire. Of course, I mean to speak to the parents as soon as I'm able. I'm certain we can figure something out. The look on Amicus' face right now, so sad but a little hopeful, reminds me of something that I've been wanting to do for the past week. In Amicus... Yeah. I glance around quickly, making sure that the nearby Patreons aren't listening. Do you want to date me? The statement is so ridiculous, so silly in this situation, comes out all quiet and weak, but I don't know how else to ask it. The word is so complicated between us now with how I try to explain to Amicus. It's something that I don't think I've ever said to anyone before, and just like Amicus, I find myself looking down immediately. It's quiet for a moment and the restaurant suddenly lights up with a golden hue as the sunset hits the window just right. I hear a long exhaustion and realize that the wolf has been holding his breath. I look up then and see Amicus smiling at me. There's a mixture of happiness and relief on his face, maybe even a little amusement. I guess we've been dancing around it for so long. We both knew by now that it's what we wanted, what we've been building up to. Of course, Kenny. I'm honored that you have me. I even see his eyes glistening a bit, and I want to get up right there and then and join him on his bed, but public setting holds me back. I imagine Amicus is feeling the same way, and I wonder if maybe asking here in public wasn't the best place for it. But it was done, and I feel myself grinning despite myself. The wolf grins right back. Like you said, while I'm here, we might as well get to know each other better, and if you do figure something out, I can come back. Amicus nods and turns his head in a way that he's able to swipe an eye on his shoulder, probably hoping I wouldn't notice. He looks so relieved. I realized even after we meet up in the meditation room, he was probably still feeling unsure of where we stood romantically. But there are boundaries, and if I'm dating you, you have to tell me everything, and no sleeping around behind my back. Of course, I promise to tell you everything, especially everything that concerns you, and I don't ever intend on breaking that promise to you. and sleeping around. Amicus' ears flicks and he glances over at the neighbors who are definitely trying to eavesdrop. He lowers his voice for a good deal. Definitely not. Not that I have anyone to be with, but we can discuss all this when we get back to our room. And Amicus lowers his voice even more. Maybe do a little more as well. His ears flatten as I roll my eyes, but they come back as I smile. Sure. Immediately his tail starts thumping the bed, and the eager look on his face has me shaking my head. I can't deny that I'm excited too, actually. I'm feeling kind of nervous now that I just promised him that. How will we even start? We sit together for a while longer, the conversation moving to a more casual topic like how the district of the cities are divided up. Though as an hour passes, I start to feel hot and a little dizzy, and when I mention this to Amicus, he suggests we head back to the palace. So I'm probably gonna stop it here because a lot is gonna happen. And I don't know, I wouldn't be able to find a good place to stop if I keep going here, but something's gonna happen. Kind of unrealistic, the gays doing something sexual after establishing a relationship. Crazy. But yeah, but now me and Amicus are official. Finally. After all this tiptoeing. After all this fucking friend business. Me and Amicus are finally a thing. But for how long? You have to wait for the next stream.